Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite the panelists for our final session, Political Polarization, the Shrinking Model Ground. Please welcome on stage the panelists for the final session, Nick Abdul Razak, Dr. Abu Hafiz, and our moderator for today, Hazrul Azmin. And we also have another panelist, Ira Azhari, who will be joining us online through Zoom. The floor is yours, Hazrul.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I'm just smiling because our last session is going to be politics, and back when I was at BFM, Ira and I had a few politics-centric interviews, so I know this is going to be a good one. And just to, welcome to today's topic, political polarization, the shrinking middle ground. Before I proceed to introduce our guests and go on to our questions, I just want to give a disclaimer that this session is going to be bilingual. So it'll be in both Bahasa and BM, just for us to read a wider audience, and just so that our guests can better contribute to the topic. Because there's a lot to talk about and there's a lot of questions to be asked. Okay, so without further ado, my name is Hazrul, of course. And our other panelists are Ira Azhari, joining us virtually. She's the Senior Manager in Ideas of their Democracy and Governance Unit. We've got Nick Abdul Razak, Nick Muhammad Rizwan, the Youth Vice Chief from Amanah, and of course Dr. Abu Hafiz who's the Youth Chief of Putra. So I look forward to our conversation. And I guess just to sort of frame our conversation, it's a very important topic because as we saw in the sort of intro of today's survey, how there is a decrease in more and more people are disagreeing with liberalism, and people are becoming more polarized. So they're either moving towards liberalism or towards more conservative views. And we've seen it in recent by-elections. I think we've seen it in the youth sort of perspective, and even in Johor, when people are looking forward to Muda's entrance into the political scene, a more moderate, sort of view to unite all Malaysians from all backgrounds. A shockingly overwhelming number of young Malaysians didn't go out to vote. They weren't interested in politics. They weren't interested in trying to sort of move towards a new vision of Malaysia that I think a lot of people have been anticipating. And even in amongst youth, we've heard more conservative views come out, PAS continues to, parties like PAS, their ideologies, the idea of Ketuanan Melayu, of Malay rights has continued to entrench itself, if not expand itself in certain communities. And so I think with that in mind, I'd like to pose to our speakers, why do you think, in your opinions, has Malaysian politics become more polarized, has become more divisive? And why are people moving away from, quote unquote, the middle ground? And perhaps you can help to define what the middle ground means to you. As Malay parties, and perhaps we can start with Razak or Abu Hafiz, and sort of get your views on that.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Thank you, first of all, to IDES for inviting me. I think this is very important. I don't know about Putra, but for Amanah, to be able to be in this stage of Liberalism Conference, it is something that I think is important because I talked to my friends before this session. Some of the, or one of the audience this morning questioning the relevance of Amanah and Pejuang speaker being on Liberalism Conference. I think it is very important for the liberal circle to expand their ally. And you will be surprised by how much common ground that we have together. At least I speak from Amanah point of view. Pejuang, maybe you can comment on that later. Come back to the question about why our society and politics especially are more polarized than ever. I think we have to acknowledge first and foremost that Malaysia has always been polarized, even before Merdeka, right? If you read an article, a subchapter in a book written by Brigid Welch, professor, you will see, and I think all of us will agree, that Malaysia has always been polarized, and it remains to be so for the near future as well. Number one, I would say, for as long as these two issues, number one, the issue of state and religion relations, and number two, the issue of economic equality, for as long as these two issues we have no consensus, then we will always be polarized because the Malay-based and Islam-based party will be relevant and justified. And when these two issues is not solved, and will never be solved, we will always be polarized. So the fight that we have in our hand is not to eliminate polarization, but rather to widen the middle ground. So that's number one. Number two, talking as a politician, I would say it is on the hand of the opposition to somehow strike the balance in the polarization of politics. If we take a look at opposition coalition since 2008, for example, back then, the loose coalition of the opposition, not yet recognized as Pakatan Rakyat, but later after the PRU, it is officially formed as Pakatan Rakyat. We have PAS together with the other party, and PAS is not a multi-ethnic party. The same goes to 2018 when PPBM bersatu, Abu Hafiz former party, joined Pakatan Harapan. PPBM also is not a multi-ethnic party. Yes, of course, they have apa yang diorang panggil sebagai ahli bersekutu, associate member, but that is second-class member. The same goes to Dewan Penyokong PAS. That is also second-class member. So they are not multi-ethnic party. But why Pakatan Rakyat then and Pakatan Harapan in 2018 to a certain extent succeeded? Because when conservative, Malay and Islam-based party join force with other parties that are more multiracial, more moderate, this conservative party will be pulled closer to the center. So I think that is the model that has been shown in our political history. It works, right? Yes, of course, after it's not even 2 years, Pakatan Harapan dramatically collapsed. That's another issue, is about coalition management and everything. But the fact that 2008, Pakatan Rakyat won the election in Selangor, Perak and Penang, and up until now, those two states, Penang and Selangor, still in Pakatan Harapan hands. And 2018 triumph of Pakatan Harapan in GE14 is the proof that incorporating conservative party, whether Malay or Islam-based, is crucial. Having said that, going towards PRU ataupun GE15, it is very hard for that to happen again. Considering what happened in Sheraton Move, it is very hard, if not impossible. So we have to discuss the alternative model. And for me, the existing composition of Pakatan Harapan is enough for us to convince the Malay constituencies to support Pakatan Harapan, with condition the Amanah has to redefine its political approach. So I stop there first.
Okay, so maybe we can sort of bring, sort of ground ourselves in the terminology, the middle ground, you know, and perhaps Abu Hafiz can elaborate, you know, lagi pendapat Abu Hafiz. Apakah mungkin satu definisi, you know, that's comprehensive when we talk about, you know, mungkin satu perjalanan sederhana, or in Islam, if you want to go into what's up there, right, the middle way, and how does that and how does that play into the conversation of, you know, the political landscape, and how Malaysians, both Malays and non-Malays, are engaging with that, or you know, why are they moving away from that? Why is, you know, a party like PAS, which was considered a middle party, sort of, you know, being seen and then labeled into something that's the other, on the other side of liberalism, and on the other side of, away from the middle path?
Thank you very much, Brother Israel, and please allow me to speak in English to accommodate the more larger audience in this discussion. Alright. Pertama-tama, apabila kita berbincang tentang perkataan atau terminology of liberalism or liberal in Malaysia, di Malaysia sekalipun, kita akan lihat adanya konotasi yang sangat negatif untuk difahami. Anda boleh bercakap di dalam perbincangan akademik ataupun tidak akademik, di masjid dan di mana sekalipun, liberal ini selalu cubaan untuk membebaskan diri daripada agama. Sedangkan perkataan liberal itu kalau didefinisikan secara akademik, kita akan lihat bagaimana ia memperjuangkan tentang kebebasan bersuara, kebebasan bermacam-macam lagi perkara yang sememangnya selari dengan apa yang diajarkan oleh Al-Quran dan juga Sunnah. Okay? Dan antara yang begitu banyak untuk membawa perkara ini di dalam tata cara, tata kelola dalam sebuah negara itu adalah Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab radhiyallahu anhu. Kalau kita lihat, namun dalam waktu yang sama, kegagalan kedua-dua belah pihak di dalam memberikan penjelasan dalam hal ini dengan mengambil titik ekstrim di dalam melawan dan di dalam mempertahankannya, itu yang menyebabkan masyarakat Melayu Islam di Malaysia khususnya menjadi begitu alergik terhadap perkataan tersebut. Okey? Dan di kedua-dua belah pihak, kita tak boleh nak salahkan satu pihak saja. Dan di mana-mana negara sahaja ada teras agama dan ada teras bangsa. Kita tak boleh untuk menafikan. We cannot deny that fact. Okay? Dia akan ada satu teras bagi agama dan teras bagi bangsa yang menjadi identiti kepada sesebuah negara. Dan sekiranya bercakap tentang latar ataupun parti yang memperjuangkan ataupun mempunyai latar belakang bangsa dan agama yang adalah mereka untuk accommodate this segment, this group of people and Malaysians in Malaysia. Jadi itu yang berlaku. Dan semua parti politik yang ini kadang-kadang kita jangan untuk seakan-akan tidak mengetahui ataupun menafikannya. Semua parti politik masuk ke dalam pilihan raya, ditubuhkan masuk dalam pilihan raya untuk menang. Kalau untuk masuk pilihan raya hanya sekadar menjadi penambah kepada partisipasi di dalam pilihan raya ataupun walaupun demokrasi itu, jadi dia perlu hanya ada NGO. Tapi dia masuk dalam pilihan raya untuk menang. Dan untuk menang memerlukan kepada 50% plus 1 di dalam mana-mana konstitusi ataupun membentuk mana-mana kerajaan. Jadi itulah yang menjadi kekuatan kepada parti-parti ini. Sama ada parti itu adalah berbasiskan kepada bangsa dan agama, ataupun menyatakan bahawa parti tersebut adalah parti yang multiracial, tapi end up dengan berbasis bangsa dan juga agama juga. Yang ini tidak boleh untuk kita katakan bahawa no, we are fighting for Malaysia. Tapi akhirnya akan ada yang berbentuk bangsa dan agama itu juga yang dipertahankan, dan naratif itulah yang menjadi jualan. Dan dia tidak akan berselisih di atas perkara tersebut kerana dia tahu ground votersnya akan hilang. Kerana tidak menjawab, tidak memperjuangkan apa yang mereka mahu. Alright. Dan bagaimana kita nak melihat ke atas perkara tersebut? Hitam dan putih ini akan tetap wujud sampai bila-bila. Namun bagaimana kita react dan menjadikan satu penyelesaian terhadap masalah tersebut? Saudara Razak sebentar tadi menyatakan bahawa perlu untuk kita duduk dan daripada sebenarnya 1999 lagi untuk mendapat kerajaan di persekutuan ini tidak berjaya. Dan akhirnya sekali pada 2018 dengan memasukkan Parti Peribumi Bersatu Malaysia dan peningkatan terhadap undi Melayu itu meningkat secara agak drastik. Okay? Dan untuk menyatakan bahawa segmen itu seakan-akan tidak membantu sama sekali, itu satu sindrom denial yang sangat teruklah dalam sejarah politik Malaysia. Maka ini yang perlu untuk kita yang selalu saya sebutkan dalam perbincangan dalaman, perbincangan terbuka. Mari kita duduk untuk memahami dan mengetahui bahawa garis-garis merah terhadap isu bangsa dan agama ini, supaya kita ada kadang-kadang ada 10 benda yang kumpulan yang menyatakan bahawa mereka uphold the idea of liberalism, dan mereka yang kononnya menolak tentang liberalism. Daripada 10 tu kadang-kadang 8 benda yang kita kongsi, lawan rasuah dan macam-macam. Tapi ada 2 perkara yang anda tak perlu untuk komen pun. Dan kumpulan seperti mana UMNO dan juga PAS gunakan kesempatan itu dalam 22 bulan bagi dengan kekurangan komunikasi dalam kerajaan pakatan ketika itu untuk gunakan dan membakar sentimen bangsa dan agama. Dan saya juga, walaupun latar belakang dalam pengajian Islam dan yang lain-lain, tapi kita juga tidak bersetuju bahawa perlu wujudnya kemelampauan dalam memperjuangkan agama dan juga bangsa. Dan Islam itu sendiri dengan wasatiyah. Dan Allah sebut dalam Quran dan Nabi SAW sebut dalam Quran, dan kita juga memperjuangkan tentang kesamarataan di hadapan undang-undang. Kalau kita lihat, mungkin poin saya terakhir, kalau kita lihat bagaimana selepas daripada Najib Razak dikenakan hukuman, kita lihat bahawa wujudnya orang-orang agama yang mempertahankan. Dan ingat, ketika itu juga orang-orang agama juga bangkit melawan kumpulan agama yang dianggap sebagai penyokong kepada penjenayah dengan kita membacakan bahawa wujudnya hadis yang jelas bahawa Nabi menyatakan bahawa Allah melaknat, la'anallahu man awa muhdithan, dalam hadis sahih Muslim, Allah melaknat mereka yang mempertahankan penjenayah. Tapi itu yang kita perlu untuk cari yang berada pada middle ground supaya Malaysia lebih aman. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih saudara Hafiz. Sebelum kita seterusnya ke ahli panel Ira, saudara Razak just wants to comment on his definition of a middle ground. Just a quick one. So very set to begin, okay?
Yeah, very quick one. I think at least there is 2 elements that constitute what we may agree on common ground. Number 1, yang pertama sekali adalah tentang multiculturalism. Ya, bagaimana kita meraihkan kepelbagaian bangsa dan agama di dalam konteks negara kita. And that is what makes race-based and Islam-based party on one extreme. It is not on the middle. That's number 1. Number 2, it is about social justice. And as I said just now, the social justice issue that translates into economic inequality, economic equality, is something that is debatable. That's why we will have some group of people at one end and the other on the other hand. So we have to pull everyone together to the center. So at least those 2 elements is very important to define.
And we'll move to Ira. Ira, can you hear
Hello,
us?
hi, can everyone hear me? Boleh
Yeah,
dengar, eh?
boleh.
Okay. Assalamualaikum semua. Very good early morning from Albany, New York. It's just close to 4 AM here. Thank you for having me. Rasa agak gemetar berkongsi panel dengan 2 ahli politik muda yang saya kira potensi yang amat besar di Malaysia. Jadi terima kasih kerana menjemput saya sekali dalam panel ini. Mungkin saya akan mulakan dengan menyentuh sedikit kepada konsep polarisation itu sendiri, ya, because I want to question this concept in the context of Malaysian politics, right? Because I feel like the question that we should be asking is Malaysia Malaysian politics, society becoming more polarized, or what we are seeing now, is it actually just a natural progression as we as our democracy matures and becomes more sophisticated? So why do I say that we need to question this? Because we need to remember that we were under the rule of one party for a little more than 60 years. Yeah, and we've only had one change of government through the electoral, through the ballot box, right? And what has happened, I think, since the Sheraton move, where we've had, 3 different prime ministers, and we are seeing this increasing fragmentation amongst political parties, and increasing fatigue amongst many Malaysians that has resulted from that. I think we should see it as as more of a fragmentation of different groups in different political parties rather than polarization per se. So why do I say this? Because if we want to look at what's happening now through the lens of purely just polarization, I think that maybe what's happening in Malaysia does not really fit into that mold very perfectly. And why do I say this? Because I think calling what's happening now polarization, I think implies that we have had a very stable kind of two-party system since our nation was founded, and then that two-party system kind of starts to wobble or shake a bit and starts to break down, which I think is not what is happening in Malaysia. I think we see all parties now actually coming out to admit that there won't be any one party that will win the majority votes if there is an election, and there will be a need to form some sort of post-election agreement, or some sort of agreement where we'll have a government that is ruled by multiple different parties. So all parties realize this, I think, and are coming out to actually say it in the open. Even the opposition coalition Pakatan Harapan is not certain whether they should let in certain parties or they should not let in certain parties. So I think this is I don't know whether it's good or bad. I mean, if you look at the trajectory in some other countries, this kind of fragmentation sometimes leads to the sort of this political vacuum, which then gives rise to a populist leader to fill that vacuum and appeal to populist sentiments. But I feel like that's not what we are seeing in Malaysia. And yeah, so I think that the point that I'm trying to make is that this instability that we are seeing in our politics at the moment, it needs to be seen from that, I think, larger lens of democratization and how as society's needs and wants changes over time, so does the composition of political parties and political coalitions. So because as I think one of the panelists or the moderator mentioned at the beginning, polarization has that sort of negative connotation to it, and I think Saudara Razak pun ada sebut bahawa when we talk about polarization, we have this impression that before we were polarized, we were united, and we all had this one common intention or vision for the country, which I don't think is true. The nature of democracy itself is divisiveness, right? But I think the next question that we need to ask is then, what is the current fragmentation going to lead to? Is it going to lead to more are we going to see more of these sort of politics based on race or religion, or is this a chance for us to redefine, that kind of political model that we want? That's the longer conversation, which I think we can. I will stop here now, and then we can revisit that after this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ira. So I think our panelists can sort of follow up with their thoughts. Just keep your thoughts with you. I think we can move it to the floor and see if there are any questions or comments. But if you have anything to say and add on to Ira's points or each other's points, just keep that until after they ask their questions, and that'll help to hopefully guide the discussion.